Okay, season 2, episode 1. We're coming with a guest right off the bat, Pastor Mark Messer, Summit Church, the Valley campus. We're excited to be back for season 2. You excited?
Oh yeah.
We had Pastor Mark on earlier. He was one of our most popular ones. Shout out to Miles for supplying us with some smart water.
Smart water, yeah.
Reach out to us, smart water.
See, everybody was popping tops.
Yeah,
So I was
popping
like,
tops,
Let me
right.
pop one too.
So me and Miles a while back were curious about everything going on with COVID and Corona, and churches specifically, because I was telling Miles I enjoyed it because on Sundays I would just go watch as many churches as I could online to see how they were doing it, because there was churches that weren't doing online already, and so I was curious what that looked like for them now. And so I just go church after church on Facebook and just watch services, and so we were curious, being a pastor, what this whole thing was like. So we have a bunch of questions about it, and we kind of sat down and thought these through. And
Yeah. You want to go with number one? I'll do it.
yeah,
All right. This one might be a two-part, but so COVID, Corona, was it challenging? Just kind of abruptly stopping church.
As soon as it happened, it was challenging.
Okay.
You know, so it was.
Were you expecting it? Sorry, this is kind of cut you off.
Well, no. Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, there were days, you know, that we had that there was a talk that something was taking place, and so we had that kind of thing. But I never thought or never imagined that it was going to actually really do what it did. To basically say you can't.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy to
so
think about.
That's what hit me. And so the challenging part for me in the beginning was to not overthink the reality of what was taking place. My mind immediately just started overthinking, and because I wanting, and the longer I was in it, the more I conformed to the answer I believe is from heaven. But in the beginning, I was like, so where do we draw the line? What, are we really gonna let people say? I'm just being honest. Are we really? I'm gonna let people tell me that I
Can't have church.
and then, to me, this is totally off, but it's so on point to say what happened to me in this. And it's the way I've been trying to respond to people through all these situations that are going on right now, is legally, as a believer, not legally as in a citizen, as a believer, we really only get one language that we're allowed to speak. Doesn't mean we get that language right every time.
Yeah,
But legally, the only language to speak as a believer, a representation of Jesus, God on planet Earth, is who we are, sons and daughters of God. One language is love. And I almost missed that language in the beginning, because I was like, I want to know right now where we draw the line and how long. No, I don't know if I'll. And then, but when you say that, you're not taking into consideration. This is the problem when I find people who don't believe like I believe, I have no right to do anything towards them but love, because I can't hold them accountable for what it is that they don't know.
yeah,
And in your mind, in your heart, in the beginning, you want to. It's you want to. No. This is, and so, from wearing the mask to complying to the law, everything has to be done. What's a temporary inconvenience that never robs who God really is to me?
yeah,
And so many people, I feel like they defended so well because of this. They thought their God was being robbed from. Man, come on. God can't be robbed from me.
yeah.
You put Paul and Silas in jail, and they rattled the whole place till they were
I know.
set free. You can't rob what's really on your heart. The problem I think people were facing was they thought it could get robbed because they really wasn't sure if they had it.
Yeah. Ooh.
And that's tough.
To say.
That's tough.
Yeah.
And I say that in love, because we only get one language. My language is the love of God, regardless to what I'm facing, regardless how bad it is, and regardless to how uncomfortable it makes me.
Yeah. I would not argue, but I would say too that this forced a lot of churches and leadership and pastors to quit being so comfortable and actually be a church.
That's nice.
Because it's not just Sundays no more. I can prepare a message all week. My same people are gonna come each Sunday. I preach. Well, now I've got to think, man, how can I reach not only my same people who aren't coming, continue to reach new people, continue to grow as a church, because now you can't just be lazy and sit back. You've got to be proactive.
This applies to every the answer to every problem, I don't care if it's changing your oil,
Yeah.
to somebody getting set free, to somebody awakening to the reality that God is real and God loves them and He's for them. Whatever it is, the same answer is the same answer. It's Jesus. Situations and circumstances, they change, and what they're trying to do is get I'm not even going to say response, a reaction out of us.
Yeah.
That's not Him, and we follow through with that. When the response of heaven is going to meet the answer, and it made people, and me included, to trust and seek because of this. Nothing caught God off guard. He had the answer for this.
Yeah.
And to say that, then feel in your heart what you feel that answer is, and then run with it with everything in you. Say, yes, this is what we're doing. This is what I feel like. If He's God, if I'm doing this wrong, I mean, He's power enough to say, hey, buddy, not that, this. And trusting Him like that is what, and I hate to say this, but a lot of us don't want to be put in that position, because what we do is we want to be comfortable. But Holy Spirit, Jesus said, I must go away so that He can come. He was called the Comforter. We want everything to be comfortable. Why would He give us a comforter unless we were going to be in situations that needed comforting? And we try to escape them. And that's a whole nother thing. We try to escape situations before we realize, what if I'm here because I'm the answer to this situation? And if I leave every one of them before I see the answer, am I really helping? Is the kingdom of heaven being seen by people around me? Or every time a problem arises, it causes me to function from the problem and not from Him? Because the Bible says, as many are led by the Spirit of God, those are the sons and daughters of God. So if problems and circumstances and situations and issues are making me make decisions, then who's leading me? And Corona has done that for us. It has literally made you say, why'd you make that decision? Well, I did that because of this. But we're not supposed to make decisions. And there again, that stuff's tough. But is it something that we're not supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
We're supposed to be allowing Holy Spirit, especially in this hour. How much more? So yeah, it's challenging, but here's the thing, it's not challenging about it. It's the one who has the answer is so willing and eager to tell us. So it ain't like He's hiding it from us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He wants to tell us,
I was going to ask, did you have pushback from people as far as, okay, so your church, a place of faith, ministry, and them saying, wait a minute, if you cancel church, is that you saying you don't have faith that we're all going to be okay or anything like that? Or is everybody kind of cool with it?
I heard that kind of talk. I think the reason why we didn't, because we missed that one Sunday, the very first Sunday, and we took that one as the opportunity to seek and to start trusting. And the very next Sunday, we were like having a park and praise drive.
Was that Summit wide or just Summit Valley?
That was Summit Valley. Some of the other summits were doing the same thing, and some of them were doing it strictly online, where they were sitting there live in their living room. They'd do worship, the pastor and his wife, and they were doing it. And
so just like a more social distance church for that time. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that'd be one of the benefits of being part of a church that's planted everywhere, is you have a lot of people to talk to through this about ideas, and it's not just... Because if you were just, Summit, and there wasn't a Summit Valley, Summit Canada, and all these different summits, and you had to figure it on your own, I feel like that's a lot of weight personally. But since I have other pastors to talk to through with it.
So and that's the thing, we talk to, and this might even go with one of the questions, we talk to each other, but here's what ultimately happened, and from my pastor down. Each pastor had to say, in our area, with these people, in the situation that we're in, even though they might get some things that we can kind of say, hey, we did this and it worked, each person really had to try to hear what was going to be for that. That's I was writing some stuff, going through some of this stuff about we want a system because it's easier than hearing and trusting God. So if we get a system or structure and say, hey, this worked for us, and then everybody does it, it eliminates me having to hear from God. Which is, if you really get into it, that's scary, because we are constantly trying to create ways that work for everybody instead of everybody saying what needs to be here for me. And so I'm not against systems, I'm not against structures, I'm not against all these things that we can use, and you can use them, incorporate them, and make them your own. But if we're doing it and we're eliminating our ear to His word, then
it's not
scary.
even worth it.
Because there again, we're right back at, many are led by the sons and daughters are led by the Spirit of God. We're being led by now the easiest thing to work with instead of Him. And and how often do we do this? And because it works a little bit, and it has some good responses, that we say, oh, this must be from heaven. And God's like, I just wish I had your ear because I could tell you something even better.
It'll work. Yep.
Yeah,
Man.
you know, and it might not even, watch this, it may not even produce as much of what looks like a big result, but what it could do is produce the result that's needed. It might take 20 people and get them where they need to be, and the other system that came from another man that works, but it ain't from God, might influence 100 people, but it didn't really get them right where God wanted them.
Yeah.
And so then you start looking at, was that good or not? Really, it wasn't. You know?
Didn't accomplish anything kingdom-wise.
Yeah, 'cause the kingdom didn't advance the way it needed to.
Is this a time in life where you're glad you're not on staff? Because you're a very systematic, organized, by the book kind of person.
Yeah.
And I feel like this, if you were at a church right now, Corona hit, you'd be very stressed out.
Yeah, I'd be trying to.
Which is good to have people like this in your life that are very.
Yeah, I have to have those people.
They kind of balance out the people that just like go by the seat. Like I was
It's stressful on my end.
Yeah.
I'm glad y'all feel good.
Yeah, I know it is, and I have those people in my life, you know,
Yeah.
in our church and on staff and stuff. Because to me, I'm like, I can go to sleep, and if I wake up and I just believe with my heart that God said something when I woke up this morning, I come in, I'm like, hey guys, I know
Let's
we've been
do it.
trying to do this, but this is what we're gonna do. And I'm like, I think it could work, but you know what? Then again, there's sometimes where I go with that thing that's flowing, and I feel like it's flowing, but I just don't want to turn that ear off.
Yeah.
You know? And it's easy to do, and sometimes when we do it, we don't even realize we've done it because we're still functioning.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Man.
Yeah.
The second question I would ask is, so looking back now, I mean, Corona's still going on, but churches are back in person for the most part. Some of them, some have canceled the rest of the year. But is there anything that you would have done differently as far as any of your services or dealing with people? Or
So, you know, when to be able to look back gives you that opportunity to say that, you know, because you don't get it the first time.
Yeah.
But we started doing the Park and Praise drive-through church. The thing for us, you know, and I can't speak for everybody, the thing for us that I noticed that I'm like, man, if I would have had this done, was our method of producing live worship, being able to preach out in a parking lot, those type of things, having a setup that was easier to move because we had to create one, and every week it got a little bit better, and by the time we felt like we really had a system
back in the building.
Yeah, we were back in the building. So I wish we could have did that, you know, and you were also at a minimum of how many people in the beginning of this. We started early, outside services. We didn't miss much.
Yeah.
So the problem was we only had a minimum amount of people. Remember, it was like 10 people or less that you could have together. It might even been less than that. I can't even remember now.
Something like that.
6 or 10. And most of the time they wanted to be the same family. So praise God, I have my wife and 3 boys, and my youngest one's 17, so I had some backs. But the minimum amount of people that you were able to bring in also affected how you could set cones out and get tents set up so you don't get sunburned every Sunday. You know, those things had to be considered because it was days I'm preaching with a rag. You know,
didn't y'all's very first Park and Praise, wasn't it storming real bad that day, the very first one or something? I remember y'all announcing it, and then rain, it was like terrible weather.
And that's the ones that got us. That we had some that got canceled, and the one that was it was Easter Sunday. And we the Sunday before got canceled, last minute. We were out there trying to set up in the rain, and we finally had to just cancel it and waved everybody off, you know, and because of the electrical and the equipment, you know, a lot of money. But Easter Sunday was supposed to take place. Easter Sunday was supposed to be a service, and it was rain, and it was so bad. And we waited till like midnight that Saturday, and we finally said, you know what, it's showing like 100% all morning. We called it off, and it didn't rain till 3 o'clock. I was so mad. I was like, I'm not doing it again. The rain will have to push me away. You know what I'm saying? Because we missed that Easter Sunday, and I'm like, look at COVID trying to get it, rain trying to get it. I'm like, devil is alive, man. You know? But we had fun. So that if I could have went, you know, into this again, and even now we're kind of set up with this mentality if something were to happen again, because you know we don't know, you know, so we have something on wheels now. We just roll out with sound systems in it, plug straight in, and we're able, and we're using this to our benefit. It's going to be some outreach stuff to where we're going to have some Sunday night services this fall outside, just because we've seen so much stuff happen while we were doing it, you know.
Oh, that's cool. How to let you do that. was it? Which one? On 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3.
So, what was planning it? Was it more stressful for you, or like you said? So y'all just did the park and pray. So it was kind of y'all just did y'all same Sunday service, just moved it outside.
Just about, so we had, like instead of saying amen or something, somebody beep beep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you'd see people flash a light. She'd be preaching like, but yeah, it looked. We had worship, just like we did. It was outside, and that people came out of their houses on their porch.
Let's say y'all in a good little spot where there's a bunch of houses around.
They had that store right there. People were just sitting outside the store there. We're right across the street from Witch Chick, commercial Witch Chick.
Yeah.
So we're right across the street from them. They were sitting out there, and like waving at us, and man, it was good.
And the road.
Yeah.
I mean, just passing by.
People were ride by, slow down. People were like, people were walking their dogs and their people out with their kids riding bikes, and they would just stop. So I was like, who are all these people? That's what was happening to us on our parking place. We're like, another family, we'd pull up, we'd be like, hey, how y'all doing? They'd be like, hey, we never seen them, and I'm like, wow, so it was good for us.
This isn't on here, but did you have any other pastors reach out and ask you how you're doing stuff or how they could do stuff? Or
Yeah, we did. So they just, a lot of that was just people talking like, so, this is what we're doing. What are you guys doing? How's what working for you? So there was the chat back and forth about that kind of stuff. And we had some, we have a church that we're connected to in North Alabama as well. It's the Summit, Lawrence County. And that church there, we talked back and forth with them. They were doing some similar things, and so it was good. It was good to have people. It's always good. We talked about that back in the past, and it's great to have people to call and talk to.
That's true. I'm glad we didn't see, not that I've heard of, but I'm glad that there weren't any churches in our area that just this killed them. Like,
well, I've heard of a few. I've heard that there's So I've heard, and there's one, and I say in our area, this is like there's one in Smith Station I heard about, and it was just some older people.
They don't have the access to.
And they don't think they just don't think they're gonna bring it back. So they just, and that's so sad, and immediately your heart says, man. But if there again, you got to trust. And you even have to trust that if you feel like that's the best thing to do, if that pastor literally feels like this is the best thing to do, then it puts people again, it shuffles things up, and it puts people in places that they may not get to where they're going until they hit these new spots that pull something out of them that's never been pulled out of them. So the trusting God is all things are going to work to the good. But it doesn't mean it's good while it's going on. It just means it will work out eventually.
So this one was really interesting to me. Because we've had a few podcasts where we talked about community. How did you keep community? Did you stick more, try to stay online connected to people, or did you call people? The families that are in your church, how did you stay connected with them?
And with community, real quick, I want to ask too. So in Easter, for instance, one of the biggest outreaches. How did it affect y'all? Because y'all are a very giving church. How did it affect y'all's outreaches, the community that way, and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So that was probably the
pretty much couldn't do anything, could you?
Yeah, it kind of broke your heart because we could not do. And I look back now, you go back to what you could do. I'm like, man, there are some things we could have did. I don't know if we could have at that time because the rules were super tight. But like as we go into something now, like Opelika says, there's no trick or treating, so we do a trunk or treat every year. It's on our books to do. We're planning it. Valley in Alabama Valley hasn't released that we can't yet, so we're planning to do a trunk or treat. We're going to take all the precautions that we need to. We're going to do this, but man, Easter hit us because that would be something we would go do. There was actually, even as a church, we get together and do cookouts and all and do Easter egg hunts, so that hit us, and that was, to me, it was kind of sad because I'm like, but I look at it, I'm like, it's still for the good, it's got to be. That's the only viewpoint we get to have, but So community, we did like some Zoom stuff, all the other campuses, in which we're still doing because like our church in Canada that we're under, I'm not allowed to go to Canada right now. In Canada, they can't come here. There's some restrictions
Repping
there.
the Canada hat, by the way.
Yep. So if that's the case, and we can't. What we've decided to do, we had one this morning. We had a Zoom meeting with all the pastors. I mean, and I don't want to be right, but I think there were, because there were so many, I think there were some from maybe Africa and some other countries as well.
Oh, wow.
We're all in this real big Zoom meeting, and Bishop Kyle Searcy was just bringing some stuff to us this morning as a group, and it was, it was good. So that we're still getting to see those faces, but it's been text messages, calls, just making myself sit down and think of these certain faces that I'm like, oh, I hadn't seen them, and I touch base and I say, I want to see you. I want to, do something. Can you do a live or something? We can look at each other, but because we were able to jump so quick into the parking praise, it eliminated some of that as well.
So you're still seeing people face to face.
Yeah, so once we figured out our way we were going to do this, my family was setting up the music and stuff. Then once it was set up, only the praise team would be up there, which is our family, our church family, because we go to church with each other. Then the other people would be out away from other people, and they would park cars, so you were still getting to see them, and so we were still functioning as a family, a team, a church, to provide the gospel for the community. So we didn't lose as much as some of the ones I've heard, and that's man, we're fortunate. It's I've had sometimes I feel like it's a hard time it's a bad time to say something good, but it can't be because it needs to be spoken. But where so much has happened that's been bad, this has been one of the best things that's ever happened to me and my family and our church. It's done something, but I think that has to do with if we hear or not. If we hear what he's saying, and it worked. It did. It worked for us, and our church has been blessed and has grown through this. The world's in a pandemic, and the kingdom of God is like upside down, and it looks good on my end. But I know there's so many people that's had loss and hurt, and you hate to say it, but the thing is that same God is for all of us, and whatever that season that person's in, whether it's terrible or not, he's still that good God, and this will work out for them as well. So
man, I remember 4 or 5 weeks ago was our first Sunday going back to church in person. Watching online was great and everything, but I remember how excited I was to go to the building, be around other people, and just feel that kind of sense of community. So y'all are back in the building now, right?
Yeah, and trying to comply and do everything, and it's and that stuff's hard.
It is.
The challenge is.
We talked about that, how some people, they're used to, after the service, coming up, hugging the preacher. Hey, will you pray for me at the altar?
Taking. When we take up offering, we don't take it up. We bring our tithes and offering to the front. That's that time that people are like bumping elbow, fists, and hugging. And now it's you got these. How do you tell somebody? Watch this. You guys are from 2 different houses. Say you guys best friends. You go 3 months and you hadn't seen each other. 2 months. When you see him, it's like boo.
We can't do that.
So I mean, like, how do you tell somebody that? How would somebody honestly come up and say, "You two better not do that"? Dude, that's tough on some people.
It is.
Some people, their love languages, they want to hug and they want to shake hands, and they're being told now you can't do it. And those are the challenging, tough things out of all this. It's balancing that as best you can, complying to what the rules are, and at the same time making sure I don't have a bad attitude towards the system is telling me I have to do it that way.
Everything can still be done. It's
just gotta be done.
Tweak a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And be willing to be inconvenienced temporarily, because at the end of the day, nothing's been robbed from me.
Right.
And holding on to that.
I mean, you said real quick, this ain't gonna be in the second part, but you were telling us before that, man, things have gotten better for y'all as far as attendance, and you'll talk about this part. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's right here. I believe the camera's about to shut off. These two, that GoPro's still going, so I think it'll be fine.
So our church. One of the first things I noticed, it happened so fast that I was doing a double check. I was like, whoa, because we have somebody with the finances that does all that kind of stuff, so I don't have to be in on that. But she's coming to me every week. She says, like, giving's up. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. The next week, I just want to remind you, giving's up. And then finally she comes to me, she said, Pastor Mark, she said, when I say giving's up, she says, and this is we're going in our 8th year. She said, this is the most giving we've ever had come in this church since we started. And I'm like, wait, hold on. So, because I wasn't catching that.
Yeah.
And she says, literally, this is what's happening. Our church right now is more financially stable as far as the way people are giving, how much money's in the bank at the end of every time we're paying our bills. And she says, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, I want to sit down for a minute. I'm like, okay, explain to me what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and I'll be honest with you guys, you know me enough to know, I just wept. I was just crying. I was like, what? The whole world is upside down and God is doing something. And I'm like, wow. And I'm like, and then, you know, the faces coming in, like we're having to break out. You already got to separate. And then we're having to break out more chairs. And I'm like, we ain't broke out chairs unless we got some kind of pumped up. We pushed it out into the community. Come, we got, you know, something's gonna happen, and you know, just our man. I don't know the last time we broke out chairs just for a random service, and now it's almost every week.
That's exciting.
We're almost having to break out chairs and rearrange how we're gonna be able to get this to where all families can sit here, and then this family can sit here, and consider how many people were in their family. Wow, they got how many kids? You know, you're trying to. We haven't brought children's church back yet. Yeah. We haven't brought our youth back yet. We got dates for all these things now, so there's some planning. But man, it is even my wife during this thing. She moved her business. She had been in Auburn a little over 11 years.
Moved it to the house, right?
We moved it to our house. We had the city come in. They did an inspection, told us what we had to do. We did all these things. They came back, stamped an approval on it. She moved to the house. She's there every day when she gets off work. She don't have to drive home anymore. Her business has grown. She's not having to pay out all this booth rent. It was high, you know. It's a lot of money. Saving all that, I mean, it turned our whole world. It's almost like the windows just said, and he just said, wow. And we're like, I can't believe this. You know, it's that good.
On top of that, you get to go Cancun in, 18 days or something?
No. 7 days.
7 days. All right. So don't be trying to reach him next week. He'll be out of town.
Gone.
Yeah, I remember every year y'all do this trip. Katie, like last year, Katie's like, we need to go to Cancun because we just look at y'all's pictures the whole time.
Man, it is a blast. It is a blast. And so I don't mind saying this. I know we're live, man. We literally, it wasn't that we couldn't do it this year. We had a kid graduate, you know, all this kind of stuff, which that was, to me, they're the ones that got robbed, you know. But we had a kid graduate. We were doing some stuff for him for graduation. We were doing all this. And literally, man, we were just blessed with this opportunity. That's the only way I could. It wasn't that we even had to pay. Someone literally just blessed me and Cass. And that's why I say it's been our whole life, man. It's changed in this. Our church, it's been blessed several times in this. People just saying, hey, your church was on my heart, that we're not even affiliated with, and they had sown into our church during this thing. Into me and my wife personally. Some people, and it just rocks you that God would consider you enough to speak to someone, and then that someone would be willing enough to say yes and give God, you know, the yes. Because I feel like we get to this point in church where we give him our heart, but he don't really have our mind, so it's hard for him to communicate to us. Because my heart says I'll do anything, but my mind don't know how. And when we give him our mind and he's able to say something, we just say, yes, I'll do that. And sometimes it's something that stretches you, but yet you know you heard him say do it, so you know you can't lose. And we've had somebody do that, and it just, man, it's been a blessed year.
Me and Katie were just talking today about 2020. A lot of people say it's, you know, such a bad year, and we were saying how this has been the best year of our life. I mean,
kids.
Our baby girl's born, and then in January we fasted over something that in February God answered that prayer that we thought was going to be one of the impossible prayer requests. From getting, you know, we thought I was down when I got laid off, but then I'll be able to spend all this time with my newborn baby at home. It's just been a great year. So check this. I don't know if we got time. This one won't take but a second. So watch this. We started the first of the year off January the 1st, and I think we talked about this when I was here. Look, we started out. We had service, worship, and open mic prayer January the 1st every day, every night. We met at the church. So not knowing that this was about to happen where we couldn't have church, we did every night of January, every night of February. We met every night, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, every night, all of January, all of March. We came in, we did every other night.
April come in before this stuff happened, right before we got shut down, we were like once or twice a week. We literally had service. And I'm not saying there was no preaching, there was nothing. We were literally opening the scriptures. And we were just reading out of Psalms and stuff while somebody else played the keys, and then they would sing worship, and it lasts an hour to 2 hours. And people would come in. They might be here for 30 minutes. They might be here the whole time. But we had so much church at the beginning of the year. Our people were ready for whatever. They didn't have more church I seen people have more church in January and February than most people have all year. And that's what I think got them ready. Yeah. And I think hearing God, speak to our hearts to have that kind of stuff. For 2020 is actually got us ready so we didn't hit some of the things that we could have hit. Our church was ready. And I, like I said, it almost sounds weird. Yeah. It breaks my heart because I know there's people but I still got to give him credit and give him glory, man. We have been good. Yeah. And I'm so thankful for that,
Man, it's incredible.
Amen.
So I'll wrap up part one, episode 1. Season 2 with Pastor Mark. You can check him out at Summit Valley on Facebook, right?
Facebook, yeah.
Summit Valley. You check out his personal stuff, Mark Messer. And they stream their services every Sunday, even before all this. So if you want to see what a service looks like, you can watch it.
And there's a podcast that you can find on our website. You can find all that stuff through Facebook. There's a website for the Summit Valley, and there's a podcast on there that's got all our sermons recorded on them. You can go listen to this.
I'm guaranteeing it will not be boring. With him preaching, it's not boring. So you can always go check it out and watch it. Summit Valley. Thanks for coming on. We're about to film episode 2, which you'll see in a week.
Yep. All right, see you.